All right, let's just jump right into this. For centuries, we've had these two massive stories trying to explain where life came from. One is a story about fossils, genes, and, natural selection. The other is a story full of gods, heroes, and these giant cosmic cycles. But what if they're not two different stories at all? What if they're actually the same story, just told in two completely different languages? So that's the wild idea we're going to dig into. There's this incredible parallel between our modern understanding of science and this ancient Hindu myth, a parallel so precise that some scholars have actually given it a name. They call it avataric evolutionism. So on one hand, you've got Darwin's theory. It's a story of life crawling out of the oceans, moving onto land, going from simple little creatures to incredibly complex beings over millions of years. And on the other hand, you have the Dashavatara, the 10 descents of the Hindu deity Vishnu, who's said to pop up throughout history to restore cosmic balance. So let's see just how closely these two timelines really match up. Okay, so let's start at the very beginning of complex life, with that huge journey from water to land. This is where the biological avatars step onto the stage. The story kicks off with Matsya, the fish. Now, in the ancient Hindu scriptures, the Puranas, Matsya saves the seeds of all living things, which this theory interprets as the basic DNA code, right? From a massive flood, keeping life safe in a kind of symbolic arc. And here's where it gets interesting. Take a look at the scientific parallel. You've got the Paleozoic era, and specifically the Cambrian explosion, which was this sudden burst where nearly all major animal groups appeared, and they all started in the water. Even other ancient texts, like the Manusmriti, say life first came from the ocean. So both stories literally start in the exact same place. Next in line is Kurma, the giant turtle, a creature that lives in both water and on land, an amphibian. In the myth, Kurma becomes this super stable base for a giant mountain. And that is just a brilliant metaphor for the next huge evolutionary hurdle, leaving the weightlessness of the ocean and having to fight against gravity on solid ground. So this brings us to a really important question. If Kurma is this mythological placeholder for the jump from water to land, does science have a real-world version? Is there a genuine missing link fossil out there that actually shows this amphibious stage? The answer is a huge, resounding yes. Meet Tiktaalik, a 375-million-year-old fossil they found up in the Arctic. The paleontologist who discovered it, Niels Shubin, calls it a fishapod, and for good reason. It had gills and scales and fins like a fish, but it also had a flat skull, a neck that could move, and these really strong fin skeletons with shoulders, elbows, and wrists. I mean, it is the perfect anatomical bridge between water and land life, a real-life Kurma. And the sequence just keeps going with this almost spooky precision. Next up is Varaha, the powerful boar, representing the takeover of the continents by animals that lived purely on land. And then comes Narasimha, the man-lion. This one is described as being neither man nor beast, and it appears at twilight, which is neither day nor night. It's a perfect symbol for a transitional hominid, a species right on the very edge of becoming human. So those first four avatars seem to map out our biological journey pretty clearly. But now, the story takes a turn. The next group of avatars, they don't describe changes to our bodies, but changes in how we live together. This is all about the evolution of society. The timeline moves on with Vamana, the dwarf. He represents early Homo sapiens, physically smaller, but with this massive hidden cognitive potential. Next is Parashurama, the warrior with the axe, who perfectly symbolizes the Neolithic revolution. That's when we started using tools to clear forests and start farming. And finally, you get Rama, the ideal king, who embodies the Bronze Age, the birth of real civilization built on laws and a shared social contract, which is known as Dharma. And just when you think you've got it figured out, the journey takes another turn. After mastering the external world, society and civilization, the focus shifts inward to the final frontier, the human mind itself. Krishna, the statesman and philosopher, he's a perfect match for the Iron and Axial Ages, a time of big empires, complex politics, and these deep philosophical questions. But it's the ninth avatar that really marks a huge shift, Buddha. He turns away from the kingdom to look inward. He taught that the next great frontier wasn't about conquering land, it was about conquering the self. See what happened? Evolution has moved from biology to society, and now to consciousness. So when you map it all out like this, the Dashavatara seems to lay out this clear 3-act play for evolution. First, you develop the physical body just to survive. Second, you build social structures so you can cooperate. And third, you turn that focus inward to finally understand your own mind. So, 9 avatars have shown up, and they've mapped our past with just startling accuracy. But the story's not done. What about the 10th and final avatar, the one that is still supposed to come? Well, this is Kalki. The prophecy says he will arrive at the end of our current cosmic age, which is a pretty chaotic period called the Kali Yuga, to basically cleanse the world and start a brand new era of truth. For centuries, people saw this as a literal warrior on a horse. But the avataric evolution theory, it offers up a different, much more modern idea. What if Kalki isn't a person at all, but a massive, paradigm-shifting technology? This suggests a really compelling idea. Maybe Kalki is a metaphor for the arrival of artificial general intelligence. An AGI could potentially solve our oldest problems: disease, climate change, scarcity, essentially cleansing the old world. The white horse he rides? That could be the incredible speed of globally networked systems. And the sword? Well, that could be the sharp, truth-finding power of pure data and logic. And look, this incredible parallel isn't some brand new idea. Over 100 years ago, a scholar named Sir Monier Williams noticed it, saying that this framework suggests Hindus were, in his exact words, Darwinians centuries before the birth of Darwin and evolutionists centuries before the doctrine of evolution had been accepted. So, we're left with this one last fascinating question. Is the Dashavatara just a series of really, really remarkable coincidences? Or could it be something more? Like a story designed as a kind of durable, time-proof hard drive, an encrypted timeline of our entire planet's story, just waiting for us to finally have the tools to decode it. What do you think?